Nonima Kenya ji via mo fe mo le moni inji shi mincho higbene no ken fla nye fe mincho higbene no hu ken hanye manye mi ha ma fe manye mene fia ke ango kekiwo dromo na ntanye hie ni ababi misajin ye wogan ke midenche inwalashi lami noni minto ma yune minto ya manse fe ewo wimo achake kuni mesani yo efe he anoshishi nibi ye nima kenye eminkike deke efe ewo nyebwa wotwe ncho igbene no hu ke ngamo fe mu kan tota flache hu nye nyebwa nye hani game ofia kume iwo mama wohi wope wohi woyo ewo nyeka kwa hi kokura wohi wonuchu moneno iwo hani wohi aka woshi ke ha yino abiko ni wose kuwe washi wonofe no woyo ngmene ke ha me obi ne no manyaba. I want to say that being Ga Mantse counts for a lot, because you're not only the physical lord of the state, you also become the spiritual lord of the realm. It is an understatement that a Ga Mantse would just be represented at places or represent the state at places, at functions, or even be in festivals. But the actual life of the king has so many spiritual connotations, spiritual meanings. Everything that we are, everything that we put on is reinforced, is empowered, is given access and utterance to by spirit. So it's a very spiritual position, and his lordship over the realm is paramount. He doesn't have that, he's no more king. The power of the Ga Mantse is his spirituality. He doesn't have that spirituality. He doesn't have that purity. He doesn't have what it takes to control the state spiritually. He's no more king. So I live a life of seclusion. I live a life of restriction. I live a life guided by my ancestors. There are regulations, there are very deep-seated laws regarding who a Ga Mantse is, how he's formed, how he's forged. And apart from the Chieftaincy Act letting us understand or re-emphasizing the fact that the person must come from the rightful lineage or the rightful family. The person must be installed in a certain way. At the end of the day, the person must be recognized by statute as a chief or all that. There is a metaphysical aspect to who a Ga Mantse is or who a chief is. Because you go through a lot of ritual circumstances that allows you and gives you this utterance to become who you've eventually become as king.
4 years on the throne, how do you describe the experience?
4 years being recognized by statute, but 7 years of being on the throne. It's not been easy. The Ga state had fallen from a great height because leadership had been in contest. There were several people laying claims to the stool, several families going to court for same reasons. But at the end of the day, the seat of the Ga Mantse is for only one person. And I believe that now, in sitting, I have been able to attain all that it takes, being recognized by tradition and being recognized by statute as king over the state. And that is why I have the authority I have over the state, over the capital. 4 years, like I said, institutions and the strength of these institutions make the stool. There are institutions, to my wawoye, which are the priestesses and priests. Ayawulomoy, you understand? They are spiritual fathers of the state, of the realm. Aye Asafuacheme, Aye Mancheme. There are chiefs, there are paramount chiefs, they are divisional chiefs, they are sub-divisional chiefs, and they are sub-divisional chiefs. Aye Manyeme. These institutions, the strength of these institutions makes the chief or makes the king. When these institutions have lost their strength, their authority, their strength to bite, what becomes of the middle? What becomes of the center? What becomes of the stool? Ihani lomoyelie be inogbo ni hewale ni yo ne ken lo heline here be na kan hewale ken no egbope ike sanjimpi nye. So Beijing branches or these institutions bine ni yo gansen here ona nincho ke awa me hewale. If we would strengthen these institutions, Gase hiwale no kukura be ni ba akpale no. It's very, very important. You understand that the strength of these institutions are heightened. That we do everything to strengthen the institutions of paramount chiefs, institutions of sub-divisional chiefs or divisional chiefs or senior divisional chiefs, institutions of the Ga Manye, institutions of Ga Manyeme, institutions of Dangbe Manyeme, institutions of Woye, institutions of Asafuanyeme. You see, all these institutions, even the institutions of Wulomo, institutions of Agbanfo Acheme, must be strengthened. And then you can have a very powerful Ga stool. In Ashanti, there's a Sumankwahene who is like the Agbanfo Ache in Ga. Now, the Sumankwahene Otunfo would never do anything without the Sumankwahene because it's his eyes and his voice and his strength. Because he takes his authority from his ancestors. And Sumankwahene is a person who sits on that. So the head of this particular institution spiritually in Ga is the Agbanfo Ache. And this Agbanfo Ache has to strengthen even the hat that the king puts on, the cloth that the king puts on, the regalia, the whole regalia must be spiritually reinforced and fortified. You understand what I mean? So all these institutions are very, very important. You can't have the king move out without Asafuache Mankata because he has to lead the charge. You understand what I mean? He's the Ga Mantse Asafuache Unupa. So you can't lead it without the Wulomoy. You understand what I mean? Because they are reinforcers of the spiritual realm that governs the Ga state.
What geographical locations come together to form the Ga state?
Ga state is a Ga traditional area which stretches from here to Tema. And I know that, you see, we are so divided in our mind. We are so divided with politics. In fact, our tradition and everything that we are, norms and usages are suffering because politically we have been polarized.
Taking into account the city of Accra, how will you describe it?
I think for the past 4 years or even 7 years, Ga has been peaceful in my reign because I always say in Ga that ayesu na kebuaniana. There is an attribute for gathering people. There is a strategy with that attitude because you cannot put people together in pride and arrogance. There must be that substance of humility. There must be that substance of understanding. People must understand. People must be able to reason and say that this is important for us. This is necessary for us. You are asking that people unite. People must see a reason to unite. People must see a reason why they should unite. If they did not find that reason and they did not understand that reason, then of course the reason to unite will be superfluous or absolutely unnecessary. So people must find a reason to love.
How do you juggle through the responsibilities of a king and doing without what you used to do in the past?
When you are confined, I think that it brings about that break because in the first time you lose your name, your private name, your personal name is lost. Everything has to be taken over by your stool name. And that is the beginning of the break where you begin to find out that you are not the same person again because by our rights and norms, when you are installed as a chief, when you're installed as king, what really happens is that you become a living ancestor with the worship of your ancestors. So basically, it transitions you into another level of life where you know that you are closer to your ancestors than just any regular person. And then you are taught rules and you are given all this from spirit on exactly how you can behave. Because there are times within the week where you cannot eat corn. There are things that you are forbidden to do. You cannot take another man's wife. There are things that you cannot do anymore as a person. You cannot eat in public.
Which of those rules really worry you that you feel if you were an ordinary person like any of us, you would do on the regular?
A lot. A lot. Because you have lost your privacy forever. And you can just imagine that everywhere that you go, you have to go with your Asafuacheme and your bodyguards and your whole stream of an entourage. Manche kume if you cannot leave the house alone anymore, you know. For instance, even if you want to chase a girl, you have to go with.
But will you describe it as tough or is something you are really enjoying?
No, it's tough, but I see all this as a calling. It is, something that I take very seriously. Everything about being Ga Mantse is a very serious thing because you are talking about the destiny of a people, a destiny of a state, the rights of children, in Accra. You're talking about the rights of the next generation. And it's not the education of this generation. The actual fact of changing the narrative. Because I believe that in this dispensation, we have to go out of our way to make our presence known in the capital. It must never happen that the Ga state would be receded back to the background again. it can never happen.
The executive, that's Castle Gates Landlord Owners Association. Thank you very much.
In classrooms today, other languages, local languages are being taught. Does that worry you?
A lot. You know, I have a personal experience with that because my father did a PhD in England in architecture and urban design. His thesis on his PhD was on the whole urban design and re-establishment and redevelopment of the Central Business District in Accra. So I have designs of every single little plan in Accra in my father's thesis. Now, right from England, my father was made a lecturer at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in the architecture department, which later he became head of department and then dean. So my mother, Afu, who is a Lawson, I don't know if you remember Bra Lawson. Bra Lawson started the Lord is There Temple, which later became the Divine Healers Church, you know.
Divine Healers Church still exists today?
Yes, it still exists today. So we went straight to Kumasi. We didn't stay in Accra at all. I lived all my life in Kumasi. I mean, at least my preparatory life in Kumasi. So if my mother had not spoken Ga with us in the house, I would never have been able to speak Ga. If my mother was Ashanti or my mother, you know, because my father as an architect, he was everywhere, you know. He was in Abuja designing the Sabongida water project, you know, for the whole township of Abuja. He was a Shagari and Tomikimi design company in Lagos, you know, building all sort of, what do you call it, architectural things all over the place, structures all over the place, you understand. But my mother, she taught us Ga in the house. We did everything. Every instruction and command was in Ga. Nitaki, smono no fio, chakimo, cafe nakai. You know, so I would never have been able to know any Ga, and that is why it's of great worry to me that because of the invasion of other languages and other traditions in Accra of our culture, language, and tradition, you understand, we are suffering, you know, and Accra is being made to look too cosmopolitan than it's supposed to be. But well, of course, it's a city now. It's a capital. So there are a lot of things that we must find and do. Recently, I had to insist and tell the educational minister that Ga teachers that had been taught to teach Ga must be kept within the jurisdiction. Because sometimes when they are transferred out of Accra, then what is the use and the essence of they being taught Ga or they doing Ga as a subject? You understand what I mean? So that as graduate teachers to be able to teach Ga, we need to enforce the bylaw. The bylaw or the law of GES by criteria says that every single traditional location or locality or community must be taught their mother tongue. You understand what I mean? That is why it's so important that the Greater Accra region is changed to the Gadangbe region. Then we can fully be backed by law and supported by the law so that we can speak Ga, we can teach Ga in every classroom in the Gadangbe region.
I've seen a number of huge billboards at vantage points, talk of 37, Nima, and other places, championing the cause for peace and unity ahead of the December 2024 elections. How is that campaign going?
One thing that we as Ghanaians must know is that we are blessed. We are blessed as a people because there is no place like Ghana. And there are no people like Ghanaians. We are peaceful people. We love people. We have love as a trait, and it makes us peaceful. There are so many times that situations after and before elections and all that could have turned into a war somewhere else, but we have kept our peace with each other. The fact that it's about the only country where you have Christians and Muslims live together, where you have a Muslim leader go to a church, where you have a Christian leader go to a mosque, where we can put aside our beliefs, religion, and still live in cohesion, makes us a peculiar people as Ghanaians. I think that it is one thing that we should never take for granted, because you may never know. I worked at GBC, at the Audience Research Department. And our mission as a station was to entertain, to educate, and to inform. And I knew the kind of regulation that was applied then regarding speech and opinion. And I have seen a trait and a narrative change, because I have seen people spew out all sorts of things, insults about people on our media networks. And I think that is very sad and very unfortunate that we should behave like that, because we are taking our peace for granted. I want to ask some of these young men who come on TV and social media and begin to spew out things about elders, leadership. Were they there in 79? Were they even born in 79? Were they there when all these coups took place? Did they know? Have they read what happened or seen what happened in Rwanda? How hate speeches would be able to turn a whole country into a war zone and create one of the biggest genocides in our life as Africans. They don't know the strength of speech. We have to change this narrative. We must ensure that the 2024 election is peaceful. And we cannot make it peaceful until we ensure and ask ourselves, what is democracy? Because you cannot sit down and say that you are democratic when your love and patriotism for your nation becomes on petty squabbles. When will we learn from all the nations that have had military takeovers? When are we going to learn from the chaos that is happening in Gaza right now? When will we learn? Because it's important that we are responsible for the things that we say. Peace at all costs. But there must be unity in strength. Democracy is regarded as a unitary tool. And then, it's not just that, but then it's a path by which virtues and values are obtained or attained. We should also understand that the real norms, dictates and defining factor of democracy is justice, freedom, harmony, and rights. And we should not also forget that all this is conceived in our norms, our culture, and who we are. And we can only attain this as citizens, the meaningful aspect of democracy, when we practice it. You can't claim to love the state when its purse is being used for your personal gain. Because I ask myself, how much does it take to put a borehole in Bukom? How much money does it take to do that? How much does it take to put a monodua desk in a classroom? How much does it take? So why do we have classrooms without monodua desks? People are hurt, and I believe that we have to unite at all costs, and there must be peace. And I believe that there are regulatory bodies like the Electoral Commission. There are bodies that have been put in place to monitor. There are arms of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. And they have to put a strategy in place to make sure that 2024 is a peaceful event, the elections. You know why? Because Accra is the pivot of this election. Accra will decide who is the next president of this country. I tell you for a fact. So, if you are a political party and you want to attain power, then Accra must be your forte.
What would be your message to followers or political party foot soldiers?
Oh, politicians will hire you. They will hire you to go and create mess. Their children are in England studying in Oxford. Their children are in the US studying in Harvard. They come and give you coins and tell you to create mayhem. I tell you, you have to reason.
Some parties going into this election are not quite happy with the referee, the manner in which the Electoral Commission handles certain things. On your part, what do you think the Electoral Commission should do or focus on doing, and that would ensure this peace we all talk about?
I think that there must be adequate communication. There must be adequate coercion. There must be meetings. People must understand. There must be reason for everything that is done. You understand what I mean? Unless it's frivolous, then of course the courts are there to correct it. You understand what I mean? But people should not take the law into their hands. That's number one. But number two, the regulator, the Electoral Commission, must ensure that people have adequate information. And with whatever they want to do, new or old, they must make sure. If people must be registered, register wide. If there is a need to extend the time for this registration, give them the time. You understand what I mean? I think that some of it must be looked at in terms of its timelines, its short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. And the Electoral Commission must have a tunnel vision, and that vision must be able to keep the peace at the end of the day. And in ensuring the peace, the right thing must be done. The moment the right thing is not done, what do you think will happen?
Parties will be agitated.
Yes. And then it's a recipe for chaos. I wouldn't say disaster.
Let's veer into the fact that you mentioned that you worked at GBC at a point.
Yes.
What were you doing? What or who were you actually in the past before becoming a king? Let's touch briefly on that.
Okay, so I worked at GBC at the Audience Research Department. My boss was Victor Lutrot, and he was a very stern man because the Audience Research Department is the most important department in every media house. If you go to Deutsche Welle, if you go to BBC, you go to CNN, everywhere, Al Jazeera, anywhere. The audience research department is the most important department because that is the only department that samples views and opinions of the public in relation to presenters who come on TV, to shows, to events, to documentaries and everything like that. So on every Monday, we go out to circle and to other places. That's the only reason how I got to know Accra. I got to know Accra because I was at the audience research department of GBC. Because we'll go to Dankwa Circle, and as people pass, we ask people, what do you think about Akushika, for instance? What do you think about Kate Addo's presentation? Yes, okay. Or Elankra, or Barbara Sam, or Loretta Vanderpoy. All these people, I worked with them at GBC, or Alexa Hulu, or Isaac Addington, all those people.
So you sampled these views from the public about the presenters and the programs.
And then when you come back, we draw a graph, So every Wednesday, our boss has to go to the general meeting and to show that, this particular program must be ripped off because people are not watching it at all. People have a problem with the speech. People have a problem with the voice. People have a problem with the sound quality. People have a problem with the picture quality. People have a problem with, everything. So it gives us a guideline to corrective issues,
That's the
feedback from our research department.
That's interesting. You could just go anywhere in the capital, sample views.
Yes. And a number of people could even lose their jobs from the, opinion sampling of our research.
But you have a good voice. What exactly were you using that good voice to do at the research department?
Yeah. So from there, the director of TV then, Dr. Mark Dodo, he said, this boy is very photogenic. I don't know if I am, I don't know. But he said, this boy is very photogenic, So he must not be in this department. He must be at TV. So I was given to Alexa Wulu and others, and I was at TV training, as a production assistant. So I was on second generation production. I was in around town production, that sort of thing. We kept going up and down and everything like that. But then I was being trained also as presenter for TV. And during that time, Ga Mantse Studios, which is now TV3, was where we come to do our voice, being trained by Bediako, Mr. Bediako. So I was taught voice, Actually, all the voice that I have is trained, really. Yes, because you cannot be a presenter without being taught voice.
How is it taught?
Yes. There are a lot of things that you do with your voice that you can't imagine.
So like voice
okay, yes. So even to speak, you understand? To speak, it requires training. To be able to speak on TV, it requires a certain kind of training. When you see James L. Jones, in Coming to America, for instance, who was keen in Coming to America, the film, you understand? When you see him speak for CNN, you understand? That's $5 million just to speak and say this is CNN. You understand what I mean?
Have you ever done anything like that before?
Yes, I did that with Doom FM 106.3. I did that with Kasapa. I did that with Inshira FM.
When you say you did that, what particularly have you done? The Linus.
The Linus. All the Linus you see are my voice.
You just don't have a feel of that. Whether you still have that flair.
I still have it. Honestly, I think that at Dome FM right now, they should be paying rights, They should be paying rights to me, maybe. Copyright. Because they have used my voice since 2002.
Many would doubt it.
Yes. Many would doubt it.
Which other media houses?
Kasapa, Fox FM, Hot FM, all that. And I did it also with TV3. I did Ghana Most Strongest, Ghana Most Beautiful. The voices behind it. Yes. TV3 would pay my flight from Kumasi just to come and do voice. There are stations out of here TV stations, who bought my voice for the whole year. Just to speak.
Was it a good money then?
Was it? Has it ever been good? Yeah, it was okay.
One of Ghana's major issues has to do with Ga Mantse. And the number of your colleagues, when I say your colleagues, other chiefs, are quote unquote compromised or complicit in this. Does this really worry you? You've lived in the Ashanti region, like you alluded to in your earlier statements. Does it really worry you as far as Ga Mantse issues are concerned? Taking into account the distraction to the environment and everything.
I and my company or partners got some concession then. I think that it didn't live long before I became Ga Mantse. And, with the aspect of mining, you cannot trust anybody to handle it but yourself. The reason why I'm saying that was that we witnessed a family, a newly married man, have a concession and left the concession for the wife and lived out of the country. And you know what happened? When the wife got the money from the gold, she divorced the man and took over the business. Well, this just in passing. But more importantly, you see, this can be managed right because it can be a real big source of, solving the unemployment issues for the youth. I believe that we have the Minerals Commission and several agencies, including ministries, that form a regulatory body or monitoring body to these establishments, whether artisan mining or large-scale mining, small-scale mining, whichever it is. But like you talked about land claim, the reclaim of land, you understand what I mean? We have poorly managed this sector because it could have been a very vibrant sector where youth could be employed, and then also it could be beneficial for this youth, for their livelihood. You understand? And people could even learn and be taught and even attain degrees, and diplomas on its management. But I think that it has been poorly managed. That is why we have the atrocities we have. We have the fact that you have most of our rivers polluted, and then also life in these rivers die because of the presence of cyanide, which is a factor for processing this gold or gold ore or whatever it is that it's being mined. And do we have to do it this way? Can't we put in regulation? Can't we enforce this regulation? Can't we implement measures to carry on from there? You understand what I mean? Can't we manage it? Can't it be beneficial to our youth? You understand? So it calls for a greater participation on not just the chiefs who give the land out, but then also the regulatory bodies, the Mineral Commission, you understand what I mean, and employment agencies and everything like that. It calls for all that
I think these things are in place. The issue has to do with the fact that the major stakeholders involved are complicit in one way or the other, the politicians, the chiefs. Who is going to bypass these people to mine? It's been said that the Chinese, when they arrive in this country, they do not know where our goods are. We lead them to those places.
I think that we're on the same point when it comes to actually enforcing, implementing, you understand, and making sure that this enforcement is done without fear or favor, especially without any bias. Because you have people whose greed are just too much for them and even the community in which they go to do this mining. Because if you ask a soldier or you ask a service person to go and protect the land and to go and make sure that because the regulation about reclaiming is the basic requirement if you want to do if you want to have a mining what do you call it, company organization set on that sort of thing. The institution makes sure that you sign a contract to reclaim the land after you have mined that portion of land. You understand what I mean? But most of the time, is it ensured? Because the person takes gold and leaves a place, and these become very dangerous pits. People fall into them and lose their lives. Children fall into them and lose their lives, this sort of thing.
Should the anti-gay bill be passed?
I won't answer that. I cannot answer that.
You are indifferent when it comes to that?
I am a Christian. I am a traditionalist. I am a traditional authority. I love everybody in my locality. I respect everybody's rights and privileges. But I'll never, ever, ever also wish that I speak about this issue because, honestly, as a Christian, as a traditionalist, it's an affront to me. You understand what I mean? I believe that the West should promote polygamy. Because why do you promote same-sex and think that polygamy is evil? You understand what I mean? Yes, we should promote rather polygamy instead of this. In fact, I would never even spend time to talk about that. It's not an important subject for me.
When you hear that a politician, quote unquote, has huge sums of money in his house and the people, live in poverty, how do you feel?
I think that the aspect of corruption is everywhere. I believe that government should have a way of stamping its authority regarding corruption. I would say that, like I asked you, how much is a borehole to a community that is deprived of its basic need, water? How much is a borehole? How much is putting a borehole somewhere where there's no water at all? How much is it compared to a V8? And how much is a monodual desk? So if you have all this touch of money in your room and you claim that you love Ghana so much so that you think that you're worthy enough to represent Ghanaians in your locality as a parliamentarian, as an executive, it's absolutely beats my mind. I don't know why a person would think like that. Because I, as the Ga Mantse, I have so much love for my people. I don't remember the last time I saw my daughter. I haven't seen my daughter I haven't seen my children for a number of months now. I haven't seen them because I had to be in the homes to be their father. And here I am, trying to be a father of a whole nation. Trying to take the problems of a whole nation on my shoulders. Trying to solve the problems of a whole nation. People have to go to school, children have to go to school. Look at the programs we have on the Ga Mantse Foundation, which is Prime Project, Prime Project is the Ga Girl Child Support Project. Look at us in the community, trying to work, doing Kinkambronya. On the 1st of January in every year, we do Kinkambronya. This year we had 12,000 children. We had to give school starter packs to. We had to print bags and put massets and put books, pencils and erasers into them and feed them and all that. And give them scholarships also. You understand what I mean? I have so much love for this. All this money, I could have bought a V8 or whatever car, whatever house, live in the most luxury, or hide the money in my. Where did you say it's hidden? Under the bed? No, that is wrong.
We all know Accra is congested. That is a fact. There is a call for a new city to be built. Yeah. Do you agree to that?
I am a partner to a number of investments or investors all over this world. Recently, I brought in an investment group. I'm going to be the new face of smart city development in the whole of Africa. We're going to build smart cities because they are more sustainable than digital cities or whatever buildings that they are. We believe that when these cities are built, it will give us the threshold to be able to decongest Accra. If you look at the Central Business District, it will shock you to know that people sleep on the streets and all that. And we're looking at a place like Agbogbloshie. We're looking about creating one of the biggest markets in Agbogbloshie and also building a city, because it's important that the spillover in Accra is given an opportunity there. We have affordable buildings for Ga people where they can thrive. That is why we need to create a system of decentralization. It's already there, but are we implementing it? The issues are that if we decentralize and you have a capital like Tamale, accommodate its own and take care of itself, you wouldn't have youth from Tamale come into Accra to compete with the very meager amenities we have in the capital. And that is why we need every region, so those 16 regions must be developed equally so that youth will be able to stay in their localities, be educated in their localities, find jobs in their localities, be able to live and find livelihoods in their localities instead of coming all the way to Accra for greener pastures. And then they become Kayaye. And at the end of the day, the state purse must be used to give them incentives for them to thrive. What about us? That is why I have been angry sometimes. Ejakeshi ke game na heko ni amebawo te fiota ya jon mokonklo he. Ona ninjo game ona Egbana Simon inyena kan hemoke yeli akesin yeni woke gan ya ona ninjo gan ba chake ni mo fe mo ba na kesin getesin edomo enomlin min Kenya ija sin tansin ake Ga Mantse ni gan atoton e bande na kan akesha ba klo no fe no dabi e bande na kan keshi aba so woni papa ye wode alo wo gbosi ni nko ye wode dabi e bande na kan e ja keshi min ke manche me fe ba fe kube bo ba kwe ni no fe no ni ji wono ni we will order an audit of organ lands. Ni abakewo. No na ke washpon fe.
When would this be done? Because there is one in contention with the military and it's been fight upon fights.
No ni saninye nanye leji. Shikpon kobe na kota ke wo okuko tumi oke ya ashia. Shikpon e gama shikpon. Ni ke government po ko wale akeshi ayegbeja no to ye he. When a lease expires, whoever it is that owns the lease must sit down and call the allodial owners of the land as first preference and discuss either a renewal of the lease. But if you claim that in 1941, the land was given for compulsory acquisition and £2 was paid as compensation. When you kokra, the way spa, Dabi, it's not fair. Sani amlalu eke watashi. Ne hani wakame wanagba. Na mekwe na meke wanagba ne atudin. Ona eja ke shikomo ke gamebe minche. Eke ni bi baba oba. Komo wo yesumo wulu ke ha boyfriend ne bahin na ke shikone no.
And they feel that why should we be losing our lands to one, the government, or to foreigners?
Una ke jin no fe no ke hegbeja no to no fe no ke be. Be kwa jo ni kutumo ko shishi. Ona ni ncho ni ekwe ishe eko ewo ami ongodan. Ona ni ncho na mo ona ni ncho dani ekwe abakwe na hani mali no ni yano. Nibi pi ni mancheme wonfe yega. Nibi pi ni mi minfe. Asui pi ye ninka amlalwe into. Shinoni minto maka ameji. Amena twi. Kenukwe ameka kohi wale ke wameding. Ona ninjo. Benye yue. Ni neke. Ni manje fe neke. Ni manje neke. Beken jio. Sano liya keshin. Koke beken jio we. Kenuku no nu shishin. Oba chiu benko nupa. Nubila ke mini yano. Ni kebu. Noni jini echu. Let me tell you something about what John Ruskin said. He said, when we build, let us think that we build forever. Let it not be for the present delight alone or for the present use. Let it be that which our descendants will thank us for. And as we lay stone on stone, let us think that one day, a day will come when these stones we have put stone on stone will be held sacred. And as these descendants, as they look at our labor and rough work, they will say, this is what our fathers did for us. When Ga Mantse, you know a big me, I agree. Akeshi ene ni ni te kochuru ni die nyono e pachu ke haga.
On that note, you may want to give your home message to your people.
Gateshi ni manyeli afi wono. Waka ka bingbang ni woyoyo eja keshin beye ishe ni abo tuwe. Boni nyungo bo Israel tuwe ni eba kwame ye goshene. Mene Yehowa zeba nyumo ke wawoya amebo watwe. Amete ame koji amin. Mene amebaba ni washu dada no iwo ya file ke minjele. cheme kenye me game Mantse me manye me ko nupa fe nita chokuyi ano no mi to ma kenye ji ye ha ni wo bo ale kutu ni wo pe ya ni wo kra man ke machine wo tra man ke machine eja kesi wo bi ne info na me hemo ke yeli ye wo mi eta eja kesi ashiame na me boy hemo ke yeli ko don ani what ashin ake gadan before mo bi many yo amlalu emi ke NDC o NPP o nye ha ni wo ke politics afa de no wo ba ye npa nye fine no kwa fe nye no ni bi onye peji nye ha ni wo kaya akesi gan for mo bi ji wo gadan before mo bi ji wo nke wo gmen wo he ka ble kuma ba kuma wo e komo wo ni he wo ni papa ye wo den ka si beni wo ba bole kutu wo pe ni wo ba yo se akesi ke wo fe kome no ke wo te e ke wo ba ya tra no manyaba.
Thank you very much, Kintaki Teko to the second, for speaking to us. My name is Fred Duho, and I've been engaging the Ga Mantse.